Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of One Day Later. This time around I'm looking at TNA's Against All Odds 2010. Our first match of the night is a quarterfinal match, part of an 8-card stud tournament to determine a number 1 contender to face the TNA champion at Lockdown. This is between Desmond Wolfe and D'Angelo Dinero. I can see where they're going with the name of the tournament and the whole Vegas gimmick. Unfortunately, there's a few things wrong. It's actually a 7-card stud in poker, not 8, and I really think TNA should have gone to, I don't know, Vegas for the pay-per-view? Whatever. This is the rubber match between both men, nearly 2 months after starting a feud that has all but been dropped lately. D'Angelo has been busy with Orlando Jordan, while Desmond has been lurking around, qualifying for the tournament, and little else. It would have been nice to see them continue where they left off at Genesis in a couple tag matches on opposite sides, finally culminating in this match. That being said, it's a good, no-nonsense, decently paced, 9 or so minute match that didn't have me cheering for either side, but I was still entertained. Desmond gives D'Angelo a nice superplex, but Dinero ultimately picks up the win and moves on. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. After that, Hernandez takes on his tag team partner Matt Morgan in another quarterfinal match. I kind of have to question the logic of having tag team partners who are currently the champions face each other unless they plan on splitting them up. And if that's the case, it feels really too soon. If you have to truly go this route though, this match would have worked better as semifinals. It starts as a slow plodding match, but picks up towards the end. At one point, Hernandez goes for a crossbody dive, and Morgan fails to catch him completely. Whoops. Thankfully, they recover quickly from the botch. Later in the match, Hernandez does a really impressive delayed vertical suplex, and then does a running dive splash over the ropes onto Morgan standing on the elevated ramp outside. It looks like Hernandez injures his shoulders in the process, which is a great reason not to have an elevated ramp, TNA. Morgan has the ref stop the count, allowing Hernandez to get back in, then immediately takes advantage of the situation and shortly gets the roll-up for a cheap win. While I'm okay with the result, Hernandez being the better wrestler of the two deserved it more. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. Up next, they show a promotional package about Kurt Angle's dealings with AJ Styles, the title, Sean Waltman and Scott Hall, and then he cuts a promo apologizing to Hulk Hogan for his actions the past couple of weeks, and to me, this is kind of interesting. I can totally see Hogan pitting his cronies Sean and Scott against Kurt, and then coming out pretending to save the day and get Kurt on his side, so don't act surprised if it happens. Unfortunately, Kurt's opponent in the quarterfinal match, Mr. Anderson, has had nothing to do with Kurt. Coming out of the match though, as long as they follow through, it could be something. The match is alright, and I'm really surprised by the ending. I thought for sure Kurt would pick up the win and then eventually face Matt Morgan in the finals. Mr. Anderson is such an average wrestler, he shouldn't have made it past this match. Oh well, I guess it's something different. On a side note, I find it totally amusing that Kurt pumps up the audience by pulling down the straps of his singlet, only to go right into an ankle lock. That action calls for a big impact move, not a submission. It's just something that always gives me a chuckle. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. We come to the last quarterfinal where Abyss takes on Mick Foley. Both men have a lot of history with each other, so I can somewhat buy them in this match, but most of it is convoluted nonsense, and what I don't understand is that neither of them had to qualify to enter the tournament. This begs the question, why book them in the tournament at all? Why not just make this a separate match? Bischoff tacks on a no disqualification stipulation so that either man can use a barbed wire baseball bat. Did I also mention that weeks prior Bischoff said he didn't want shenanigans between either man, and threw in a stipulation that if there is, Abyss loses his mask? Considering that Abyss hardly has a mask to begin with, is this such a dangerous stipulation? And if he doesn't want shenanigans, why make it a no disqualification match? Then Eric says that if neither man uses the bat, Abyss will lose the mask. All the while, Abyss is playing the monster puss, not wanting to fight Mick at all. This is just the kind of convoluted mess that always turns me off of TNA. This is an absolutely boring match that would have had me looking at my watch if I wore one. Abyss continues to play the coward, unwilling to hurt Mick in any real way, until finally giving him a black hole slam into some tacks they laid out minutes earlier. Thankfully, it doesn't last long. Here's a question. Neither man used the bat to my knowledge. Does Abyss lose the mask? Do I care? No, I don't. I'm giving this a 3 out of 10. Then we come to the epic match I've totally been waiting for. The Nasty Boys take on Team 3D. Can't you just feel the sarcasm? Who the hell honestly thinks this is a match worth having on a pay-per-view? There's plenty I could complain about this match, but it's really not worth it in the long run. It's barely an impact-worthy match. I'm giving this a 3 out of 10. After that, thankfully, we continue with the tournament as D'Angelo Dinero takes on Matt Morgan. Morgan dominates most of the match, never really pulling off anything too impressive. However, he starts to play the cocky heel persona. I hope he's humbled when Dinero comes out on top, progressing to the finals in another win that surprises, but doesn't really inspire me. I'm giving this a 6 out of 10. The last semifinal match sees Abyss take on Mr. Anderson in a rematch of sorts from Genesis. It was average then, and it's still average. Anderson moves on, la-di-da. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. AJ Styles defends his TNA heavyweight title as Samoa Joe cashes in his Feast or Fired contract from Final Destination. I have to laugh at AJ's robe, which is a hybrid between Flair's, only with a hood. And because he's not in enough of the storylines, Eric Bischoff is the guest referee, much to the ire of AJ's manager, Ric Flair. What starts off as a decent match gets good, and then finally ends stupid. During the match, AJ does most of the work, and it's easy to tell that Joe has seen better days. He still manages to get through okay and pull some moves on AJ. The end feels totally hokey and typically bland. Eric plays the usual idiot referee who doesn't notice when Joe is pinning AJ due to Flair on the outside. Joe pulls Eric in, taking his eye off of AJ, and falls prey to a Pele kick and Styles clash into a pin that Eric hesitantly goes through with. A fluke win for the heel champion. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. Finally, we come to the main event, or at least what TNA considers a main event. Me, it's pretty underwhelming. While Dinero is a fan favorite and growing on me, neither man is main event material yet. Prior to the match, Hall and Waltman somehow get into the arena and attack Dinero for seemingly no reason other than to create chaos. The way things play out from there is pretty lackluster even to the end. Dinero manages to make it out to the ring, but Anderson takes plenty of liberties with Dinero's injury. From there, it's Anderson doing the same thing from the previous 2 matches, but bringing nothing new to the table. Dinero eventually comes out on top with the win and the shot at the title, but by this time, I'm just ready for the pay-per-view to be over with. An average match that didn't upset me, but didn't leave me excited either. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. Overall, the odds are pretty average for TNA's latest pay-per-view. While I like the tournaments, I'm not sold on some of the guys involved, and even so, things could have been reworked to better suit the tournament and build excitement a lot easier. No X Division match and no knockout match, along with one I had no desire to see, leads me to give this pay-per-view a 5 out of 10. Is it worth ordering the replay? Not at all. Is it worth buying the DVD? I would probably get it on sale. Thank you for listening, and please tune in again when I look at another wrestling pay-per-view one day later.